Yes, Dr. Wilberforce, you are welcome. Could you just
Now
turn on
on
your
one
video?
device.
Okay, we can hear you. Okay, wonderful. That's okay. Please turn off your video at the moment to save the bandwidth.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's perfect. We can hear all of you.
Okay, good.
You
So
could
we can
kindly, yeah,
turn
you could
off.
kindly, yeah, you could now kindly turn off the videos. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to this webinar series. My name is Clinton Twena Tumanye, and I lead communications at the Africhal Center, and I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. Thank you very much for sparing time to be part of this webinar series. Wherever you're joining in from, we are glad to have you. We are optimistic to have a very wonderful conversation and presentations from our teams from Kyambogo. We also have a wonderful panel of discussants that's on this webinar. So at this juncture, we would like to welcome our discussants wherever they are joining in from. We already see a lineup of presenters, panelists, and everyone that's joining us from all over the world. Thank you very much once again for sparing the time to be part of this wonderful webinar series. We will start off by just showing our quick agenda for our webinar. Allow me share my screen. Okay. I can see the comments in the chat. People letting us know where they're joining in from. We are glad to have each and every one of you. Very glad. Thank you for wherever you're joining in from. Okay. Okay, so our agenda for today. I trust that you can see my screen. Today, the 28th of April, we always have this webinar series on the last Tuesday of every month. And this very Tuesday, we are joined in by a team from Kyambogo who are going to be presenting on safeguarding mental health for children with physical disabilities in inclusive public primary schools, specifically in Uganda. And for those that are not from Uganda, the case study of this particular presentation is based in Kamuli district. Kamuli is in eastern Uganda. And this is our agenda for today's webinar. We'll have welcome remarks and a brief about the Africhild Center and the Inter-University Child Focused Research Methods Training and Mentorship Program, where this presentation is coming from. The Africhild Center has two flagship programs. One is the Inter-University Child Focused Research Methods Training, and the other is the Pure Training Program. And this is where our presentation is coming from one of our flagship programs. The other next agenda item, we will have a video presentation on who we are as the Africhild Center, and our IT team will be leading with that presentation. We also have a brief presentation of the bios of our speakers and the people who are joined in as discussants on this webinar. Thereafter, we'll have our presenters talk about the different sections of the study, and we'll also welcome a discussion from one of the discussants that's also joining us. She's an expert in the field, and we'll also be hearing again from her as well. Thereafter, we'll have a Q&A session where we welcome questions, discussions, and if you have any questions, we request that you put it in the chat, or better yet, just have it ready for when we get to this session. Otherwise, we are starting our webinar, and I'll start by giving a brief overview of who we are as the Africhild Center. The Africhild Center was established 13 years ago, and we are a locally registered multidisciplinary research institution that strives to improve the lives of children in Uganda and across Africa. We are purely a research organization based here in Uganda, but we work with universities, with institutions, with governments across Africa. Like I earlier mentioned, this presentation is an outcome of one of our programs, which is the Inter-University Research Methods Training and Mentorship Program, where we train early and mid-career researchers on how to use research evidence, but also how to improve their skills on conducting child-focused research. And we also offer them seed grants, which they base on to conduct child-focused research on areas of interest, but specifically on issues to improve well-being of children. And our program areas are three. We focus on generating research evidence. We also focus on increased uptake of reuse of research and evidence in policymakers. And that is what informs our second flagship program, which is the PURE training program. And PURE is training of policymakers and practitioners in the use of research evidence. The other core program for the AfriChild Center is we aim to improve organizational capacity to be able to do the work we do, which is research for the well-being of children. At this juncture, I would like to invite our IT team to present on who we are, a highlight video about the AfriChild Center. Over to you, IT team.
Welcome to the AfriChild Center, where we strive for an Africa where children's well-being is realized for sustainable development. The AfriChild Center exists to generate research that informs policy and practice for the well-being of children.
Established in 2013, the AfriChild Center exists to improve the lives of children across Africa. As an institution, our vision is to see an Africa where child well-being is realized for sustainable development. We recognize that across Africa, and specifically sub-Saharan Africa, children continue to face challenges across the domains of child health and survival, child protection, child development, and child participation. And as an institution, through research, our mission is to generate evidence that will improve practice and policy. We do this through rigorous research, capacity building, with an intention of building a cadre of researchers across Africa that will contribute to generating evidence to improve both practice and policy. But we are also intentional on our engagement at policy level, ensuring that research is undertaken with the intention of improving our legislative and policy frameworks. We are keen on partnerships. We believe that we cannot do this alone. We need to work closely and in collaboration with like-minded organizations, with partners, communities, and more especially with children involved in echoing and sharing the aspirations and vision.
Join us in our mission to transform the lives of children across Africa. Together, we can make a lasting impact. To learn more about the AfriChild Center and how you can support our work, visit our website or follow us on social media.
All right, thank you very much, team, the IT team, for that wonderful video about the AfriChild Center. And of course, if you have many more questions, feel free to visit our website. Feel free to check out our social media platforms to find out more about the AfriChild Center. At this juncture, I would like to present our speakers and discussant for this wonderful webinar. Our lead presenter and PI of the study is Dr. Nina Olivia Lugambwa. Dr. Nina is a lecturer in the Department of Library and Information Science, School of Computing and Information Science at Kyambogo University here in Kampala, Uganda. She's both an educationist and an information scientist and has 15 years of teaching experience in university settings. Dr. Nina obtained her PhD in 2020 from Makerere University, again here in Uganda. Our next presenter, also from Kyambogo University. He is a lecturer. Dr. Wilberforce Okongo is an education manager who is also an expert in training in policy, planning, and management. He's a lecturer at Kyambogo University, specializing in policy making, administration, and management of education institutions from pre-primary and tertiary levels. He has participated in child-to-child policy formulation, development, and organization. He has contributed to consultancy work for local international agencies such as ADRA Rwanda, Save the Children, among many others. He had a very long CV, but we've abridged it, and we are glad to have you, Dr. Wilberforce. Our next presenter, who is going to be our discussant for this webinar, is Mrs. Lawrence Ware Naswa. Mrs. Lawrence Ware Naswa is a dedicated social worker and currently serves as the executive director of the Uganda Society for Disabled Children, with over 20 years of experience as a disability development practitioner. She has worked extensively with children and young people with disabilities in Uganda. Her approach is rooted in the social model of disability, and her focus is on promoting inclusive education as a rights-based sustainable strategy to enhance access, participation, and well-being of marginalized learners. We are glad to have our very wonderful presenters and discussant who will be taking us through this webinar. At this juncture, I would like to invite our first presenter, Dr. Nina, to make her submission. Dr. Nina, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Clinton. You have already been introduced. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Library and Information Science. I hope you can hear me well. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'll be sharing. Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
Dr. Nina, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. My video is on. Can you see my video?
Yes, we can see your video. Feel free to share your slides.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to disseminate the findings from one of the papers that we submitted for publication, and the title is Exclusion from the Community and Family, Culture, Beliefs and Practices Promoting Negative Emotional and Social Well-Being of Children with Physical Disabilities in Kamuli District, Uganda. It's important for us to understand that mental health is a critical component of our overall well-being. It influences our ability to cope with normal life stress, to contribute positively to the community. And children with physical disabilities, children generally with disabilities, are more vulnerable to mental health challenges due to anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. While it's believed or known that the schools are supposed to be safe havens for children, statistics and various studies in Uganda reveal contrary to that. We find that studies have indicated that children with disabilities are bullied, they are neglected, they are segregated against in school settings. And globally, in 2023, the World Health Organization registered over 800,000 young people to have committed suicide. And you know that really signaled a mental health crisis, and it shows that this is a crisis that we really need to attend to. In Uganda, a study conducted by OPIO revealed that over 22.9% of children under the ages of 18 suffered from mental illness, and adults, 24.2 suffered from mental illness. So Uganda has made several strides in coming up with legal frameworks to ensure that children with disabilities grow up in a normal environment. Among them is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Policy. We have the National Child Policy passed in 2022, the National Inclusive Education Policy of 2019, and the Disability Act. While these frameworks exist, what is not yet known is the implementation of these policies on the grassroots. And we also know that when it comes to mental health services in Uganda, we are the health sector is really constrained. Currently, we have only 5 child psychiatrists in Uganda, and these serve a population of 20 million children. So there's the studies when it comes to this specific research area that we dealt in, mental health and disability, there are still very few studies conducted in we identified at that time was a study that was conducted by Mugisha, and this was in the health sector, where he indicated that cultural approaches played an important role.
We seem to have lost Dr. Nina. Let's just give her a few seconds to join back. Dr. Nina, we had lost you. I can see you're back. Please resume. Sorry about that. Hello, Dr. Nina. We seem to have lost you for a few seconds there. Sorry about that. Could you please unmute? We can't seem to hear you. Hello, Dr. Nina. Could you please confirm that you can hear us? Dr. Nina, you might want to rejoin because your audio is not connected. We can see that you're in and you unmute, but okay. Our dear participants, sorry about that. Our main presenter will be joining in back shortly. She seemed to have a technical challenge. In the meantime, our second presenter is going to be Dr. Wilberforce. But as we wait, just to mention that this is a presentation from the same study, different sections of it, but we are having the same presenters from Kyambogo University making their presentation. Dr. Nina, you're welcome back. I can see you are on and
Yes, I am on.
Yes, please. Maybe would you want to make just a few, as we're waiting for Dr. Nina, I can see she's on and off. Dr. Nina, could you confirm that you can hear us and we can hear you as well? Okay, so we seem to realize that Dr. Nina is struggling to join with our audio. So what we are going to do, we'll switch the presentations and start with Dr. Wilberforce. And then while we are trying to sort Dr. Nina's audio, we'll get back to her presentation. So, Dr. Wilberforce, allow me share your slides. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay. You share my slide on your side. You have it there? Clinton?
Yes, please confirm that you can see your slides as well.
Yes, that is the...
Okay, please proceed.
A good afternoon to all the people listening and attending to this webinar. I am disseminating our findings on the coping strategies as predictors of mental well-being among children with physical disabilities in inclusive government primary schools in Kamule district in Uganda. As earlier on mentioned, Kamule is found in eastern part of Uganda, and Uganda is in East Africa, in the African continent. A few things that I want to emphasize is that when I'm talking of children with physical disabilities, I mean the children who have a physical impairment that substantially limits one it can particularly affect their mobility, or a physical impairment that affects their motor function or their physical coordination. So when we are conducting this study, our focus was on the physical aspect of the disability. Among the many disabilities, in the next slide, we had to use objective, and therefore we examined the multi-level predictors of mental well-being among the children with physical disabilities, but our focus was on the interplay between the child-level coping strategies and the school supportive ecosystem. To asking a major question, and so we're asking what are the multi-level predictors of mental health? How do the child-level coping strategies and the school supportive system interact to influence it? Now, to answer this, we went to the methodology. And in our methodology, we used the mixed approach, as you can see, and our design was a concurrent mixed method. We collected data using an in-depth interview from our key informants, and also we used the focus group discussion. Then we had 22 participants, particularly children with physical disability.
Dear participants, sorry about that. We had a technical glitch here at the office, but we are back. So Dr. Wilberforce, please resume.
I was complaining from methodology. I want to just repeat in a snappy way that we use the mixed research methods approach to collect this data. And in the mixed research method approach, our design was concurrent mixed method. And in that, our the in-depth interviews with our key informants and the focus group discussion of a group of 8 other 6. Our participants were 22 children with physical disabilities that were aged between 7 to 15 years old, with 26 key informants that included teachers, parents, and we analyzed using an active, deductive, thematic analysis approach. Next. So, using the methodology, we found out that there were predictors of child coping strategies, and these were into two. One is the negative predictors, where the child would isolate themselves and they would withdraw, and that for us, we linked it to poor mental well-being. The others were purely positive. For instance, children would seek for help from the teachers and from the parents. Then the next one, which was also positive, next is the children would have that social and they would tell us how it doesn't hurt them. The next was they would tell us how they loved school, they like studying, and to us, we consider that a positive academic engagement. Others wanted to be, I lost connectivity, others wanted to become doctors, and others wanted to become engineers. Clinton, are you there?
Yes, we can
We
hear
went
you.
ahead. Clinton, could you talk? So we went ahead and we asked, what are the school ecosystems? The one that we are calling the enabling environment, essential for coping strategies. So this, we found out that there is teacher-mediated counseling where the teachers help children with physical disability cope up with peer pressure, with bullying, with trauma, and family problems. But in schools, there are structural safeguards such as ramps and latrines, but also there is parental advocacy and support. The clubs, and the pedagogy was also a flexible one. However, these were supposed next, Clinton. What are the critical barriers? This is supposed to have been presented by my principal investigator, but I will just pass through since she's coming back. Next is that we found that there is stigma, spiritual beliefs, family misfortunes, mental inabilities, and derogatory labels onto the children with physical disability. Nina is coming to explain, to expound more on this, because that is what she's looking at. And therefore, we made 4 recommendations, and these recommendations, number 1, went to the government, where we're saying that the government should ensure that there is a targeted, sustainable funding for infrastructure and specialists. Schools should strengthen the psychosocial support. And to the teacher, we recommended that there must be an anti-stigma. Now, Clinton, next slide. We are saying that we need to encourage collaboration between government entities and NGOs, such that we develop joint initiatives and strengthen community engagement. 2, we also need to mandate the disability sensitivity training for teachers, for leaders, for healthcare professionals, and we need to promote an open dialogue such that we can reduce on the stigma and cultivate supportive. But not the least, for policy, we also said we need to integrate disability awareness in all our educational curriculum. And we need to prioritize a community support program for the caregivers of the children with disabilities. And that we refer to as the caregiver support. Now, with those policy implication and practice, we want to thank that was offered to us. I want to thank Kyambogo University that allowed us to participate.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Wilberforce, for
We
that
are also
wonderful presentation. Please confirm that you can hear us.
yes, I can.
Okay, sorry, your network is a bit on and off, but we've had the largest part of the presentation. We would request that those that have questions kindly keep them so that we can once again have Dr. Nina's presentation, which we missed at the start. Dr. Nina, please confirm that you can hear us and that you can share your slides. Thank you very
Yes, I
much.
can hear you. I'm back.
Okay,
Let me
wonderful. You're
share the
welcome back,
slides.
and please share your slides.
Thank you. So
So
let me
you've
start from
okay.
where I had stopped at the problem
Okay.
statement.
Okay.
And
All right.
I was emphasizing that the government of Uganda has put in place various legal framework to ensure that the child is protected. Among them is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Policy of 2017, the National Inclusive Education Policy of 2019, the National Child Policy of 2020, and the Disability Act. What is not yet known is the implementation at the grassroots in the rural areas. We are also conversant with the health infrastructure in our country, where when it comes to mental health services, they are severely constrained. And in Uganda, we only have 5 child psychiatrists attending to over 20 million people. There are also still limited studies when it comes to mental health and culture. And one of the studies that we came across when we were doing the study at that time, that was last year, was a study by Mugisha in 2019. So this study emphasized that there is a relationship between culture and mental health recovery, where culture has been used to assist people with mental health to recover in the health sector. What is still not known are these cultural practices have not yet been identified, documented in relation to cultural beliefs and practices that impact negatively on the mental well-being of children with disability. And this is what we sought to investigate. So there are 2 research questions that we investigated in this paper. One of them was, what cultural beliefs and practices influence the emotional well-being of children with physical disability in Kamuli district? And the second was, what cultural practices influence the social exclusion of children and caretakers of children with physical disability in Kamuli district? The methodology that we used, as the previous speaker talked about, our study was of a mixed methods approach, and specifically it was the concurrent mixed methods research design that we employed. And for this particular paper, which was purely qualitative, the study participants included 48 caregivers. These participated in focus group discussions with separate independent ones for the males and the females. So the focus groups for the males included fathers, grandparents, and uncles as caregivers, caretakers. Then for the females, it included mothers, aunties, and grandparents. Recruiting study participants in this study, we used purposive and snowball sampling. Purposive sampling was specifically used to identify those caregivers who are staying with the children with physical disability. Then snowball sampling was also used after the survey on the children. With the children, the children helped us to identify their caregivers. So we used snowball to trace for those parents. We analyzed data using framework analysis, where we were guided by Brofena's ecological theory, and we also analyzed the transcripts through coding. We coded using several steps. The first one was descriptive coding. We also did concept coding. We identified patterns that were coming out of the data. And later on, we did thematic analysis where we identified the themes and the sub-themes in our study. This study was cleared by the Mildmay REC and the National Council of Science and Technology. We also sought for administrative clearance from Kamuli District Office, where we were cleared by the COW. And we conducted this, the entire process of this research was conducted in an ethical manner, where we informed the participants of what the study was about, of their rights, and they voluntarily participated in the study knowing what it was about. We ensured privacy and confidentiality, whereby we anonymize the data that came out of the study, and no single person can be identified by that data. This study is also ethical because we are doing it, we did this study to ensure that we better the lives of the children with physical disability. We highlight their plight so that you and I can come up to at least create a better environment for them. So what were the key findings? Regarding the cultural beliefs associated with physical disability, various findings came up related to the cultural beliefs associated with physical disability. The first one was physical disability is understood in a spiritual way. It has a spiritual connotation associated with it. So many of the participants believed that they were told in their community that these children are possessed by demons. That's why they are born with disabilities. Others believed that their parents had sacrificed them to witch doctors to gain wealth. So as a result, they gave birth to children who are disabled. Then disability is also associated with inability, where most of the participants indicated that the community labels these children as not intelligent and they have disabled brains because they have a disability. Then there is also a belief that disability in families is a result of infidelity, and infidelity from the mother. So the child born, it's because the child does not belong to that clan or lineage, and that explains why the child has been born as with a disability. It was also believed that it is hereditary. Disability is hereditary. So this disability runs through the lineage. If you get married to a person who has a background in their lineage of people who are disabled, then it is highly likely that the children you're going to produce are also going to have a disability. Then disability was linked to cultural misfortune, for example, financial loss. They called it a chisirani, a curse. And divorce. Regarding divorce, this was a critical finding in our study because we noted that all the women who participated in the focus group discussion were already divorced. None of them had a husband. And they indicated that immediately they produce a child with a disability, their husbands abandoned them. And they also say that because it is very hard for them to survive, they have also ended up abandoning their children with their grandmothers, despite the grandmothers not having the economic muscle to support a child with disability, but just to avoid the stigma from the community. Then it was associated with poverty and community isolation. And lastly, it's also believed to be retribution from God, that God is punishing the family. Talking or identifying these children. So one of them was Embulu, and they told us that in that language it is the same as hyena. So they are given animal labels. Then there was another one, Chirema, meaning the lame one. So there are very many labels, but for the sake of this presentation, I'm only going to mention a few. There was also exclusion from communal eating. It's known, especially those who are from the African context, that most of our communities eat in a communal manner. When it comes to events, cultural events, weddings, and also in the homes, people eat together. So it was overt in the interviews that these children are not allowed to eat with the community, and even in their own homes they are given their own plates, and there is a specific space that is identified for these children to sit. Some of them are even tied on a rope like animals so that they do not interact with other family members. So in this, you see that these children are isolated not only in the community but also in their own homes. Then we also found out that another practice is these children are excluded from eating family delicacies. And in this particular area where we conducted the interviews, the communities there were Christian, and they considered pork to be a delicacy. So they indicated that these children are not given pork because it is detested by the evil spirit, so they are not supposed to eat. And in this, you can see they are alienated from the family protein. And there was also another finding regarding the children with physical disability being excluded from children games. They do not play with the other children. Then there is also this activity of fetching firewood and fetching water. It is collectively done in the rural areas, but these children are discriminated against, and they do not conduct these activities with the other children who do not have disabilities. And lastly, we also noted that many of the homes having children with disabilities have shrines that have been built. This is a label in those homes. All those homes have shrines, and they have built these shrines to appease the gods. They argue that by building the shrines, the punishment, the children will not deteriorate physically. What are the key findings in this study? The key findings were there's increased level of school dropouts by children with physical disabilities. This is because of the discrimination, the bullying that exists in the schools. There are also high divorce rates among couples with children with physical disabilities. This one I already highlighted. This was a strong finding in all the focus group discussions of the ladies. None of them was still married because of this. And they also indicate that there's also abandonment of these children, and the burden to take care of them at the grandparents' place. Yet the old people are also considered vulnerable. And when you look at these findings, they're in line with the World practices not only affect the family, but also go to the school settings where these children are discriminated. Yet these are important. They're important systems that are supposed to support these children with physical disability. Another finding was physical disability was associated with superstitions, e.g. being possessed by evil spirits, parents having sacrificed their children to gods, and also promotion of social exclusion in families and the community, and use of derogative names. All these affect the mental well-being of children and those their caretakers. So when you look at these findings, they still correlate with Mukushi's study in Zimbabwe, and also Berry, Nuhu, and Serif studies that were conducted in Ethiopia that emphasize that culture, the spiritual aspect or beliefs that are affecting the community regarding disability. what is our conclusion in this study? We conclude that
Dr. Nina,
children,
as you wrap up, please.
yes. So we conclude that children in Kamuli district, those ones that are physically disabled, are experiencing a lot of hardship. They're excluded from their communities, they're excluded from their family, and this family support that they greatly need are not supporting them. And also there is a lot of misconception when it comes to disability. So these communities need accurate information to be able to understand disability. We recommend to the community that there should be more community awareness campaigns to create a favorable, inclusive environment. Caregivers need a lot of support, emotional, social integration and coping strategies so that they can cope with what they're experiencing from their communities. So the educators should, all leaders should undergo training to do with disability so that they can understand it and promote positive messaging. Implication for policy and practice, it's important that disability awareness is included in all education curriculum, just as Dr. emphasized. Then the government should prioritize community support programs for caregivers and children with disabilities. Then we encourage NGOs, international NGOs, community-based organizations, and the local government to come together so that they refocus on this area, mental health and disability, so that these communities can get more support, and also open dialogue initiatives to reduce stigma and foster a supportive environment for the affected families. Thank you, our dear audience, online audience, for attending this meeting. Special thanks to AfriChild for supporting us in the inter-university child-focused research methodology. Your mentorship, your technical support has enabled us to come up with this. And thank you, my team leaders, and our mentor, Professor Eju. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nina, for that very wonderful and insightful presentation. It's very unfortunate to hear that even until today, children with disability continue to face stigma, discrimination, and exclusion within school settings, and not just in Uganda, but also in other settings. And of course, regardless of the different strides that the government of Uganda has put in place alongside partners like NGOs, we continue to face some of these disability. We continue to see them in primary schools, but also in higher schools where children are. At this juncture, we will have a very brief poll just to get your input as the audience while we await our last discussant, who is going to give us her insight based on her experience whilst working with children with disability. So you will see a poll on your screen just now. Kindly take off a few seconds to respond to it. Thank you for those that have taken time to respond to the 2 poll questions. We are sharing the results on your screen, as you can see, for those that have responded. Okay, without further ado, would like to invite our last presenter, Mrs. Dolores. Kindly unmute and please speak to us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, AfriChild and the Kyambogo University research team for this very timely and child-centered study. Thanks for the opportunity to be a discussant. And thanks everyone in the audience. I was introduced, so I don't think I need to go over that, and seeing that theme is also not on our side. I'll draw my discussion points from my extensive experience, I must say, from USDC, but also from working in this childhood disability sector in Uganda. I congratulate the researchers. The study has strength. It addresses a topic, mental health, which is of growing concern internationally and nationally, as evidence shows a rising prevalence of mental conditions in the population. The study also focuses on often neglected population category, those with physical disabilities. And of course, the geographic area, Kamuli district. Yeah, this study ensures that the unheard voices are heard, but I think it also represents other districts in Uganda in a way. It's a disability research, and its use of qualitative approach and phenomenological design was appropriate for understanding the lived experiences of those children. Maybe that's one critique. It was not clear from your study whether the persons with physical disabilities, the children with physical disabilities in this study, also had mental health conditions and how these were determined. Many times we are talking about, so have you assessed, or have you not assessed? And then also something slightly between the use of mental health, as in mental health, which is usually either the presence of mental health and mental illness, and then mental well-being, which mental well-being is really the psychosocial issues, the safeguarding, and stuff like that. But if I missed it, maybe you'll speak to it. So, okay, from a Ugandan perspective, this research anyway speaks directly to an issue we have worked on for decades, that inclusion is not meaningful unless it safeguards the child's dignity, mental well-being, and the sense of belonging. So this study moves us beyond counting how many children with disabilities are in school to asking a more important question: how are these children actually experiencing school emotionally and socially? So that shift is long overdue. And I would like to, in my discussion, just expound a little bit, referring to this specific study in 4 or 5 discussion points. The first one, inclusion must be defined to include, therefore, mental well-being. You cannot speak of I'm including this inclusive education and you leave out mental well-being. And one of the strongest messages from this study is that physical access alone is not inclusion. Children cannot be enrolled, seated in classrooms, but they still experience stigma. From what you were speaking, they are being called names, Chirema, they are being called all those Simanya Embulwe, all those names. Then isolation, Maybe children are in class, but they are left on their own. Maybe they have no friends. All sorts of emotional distress. And then maybe they are there, but in fear of humiliation, maybe even on the path to school. So all inclusion advocates here, this should lead us to say a child that is present but not participating, present but not safe, is not included. We are not yet including children in our education system. So this study confirms the mental well-being. The mental well-being is a core outcome of inclusive education. It's not an optional extra. It's not, that's okay, then yes, they are included. Then later on we can think about their mental well-being. No. So children's emotional safety, self-acceptance, sense of belonging must be treated as quality indicators. It should be there. When we are talking about, we are measuring how children are learning. Are our children learning? How are they learning? It should be one of the quality indicators of inclusion. Mental well-being should be a core outcome. And just like you look at, are we buying enough desks? Are we now providing the wider doors and windows? And are we counting the statistics of how many children? Because this is what we usually find, actually, that a school will tell you, yes, we have included them. See there on the chart as you enter the head teacher's office. It's not just that, and it's not what maybe we want if we are to consider inclusive education and core outcomes. So for policymakers and implementers, I think this means mental well-being must be planned for. The study also talked to this, yeah? I mean, without the budgets, you are not talking it yet, yeah? And it must be monitored. We know that when we start looking for statistics on children with disabilities, it will be the last to come out. It will always be one that is lacking, but it should be monitored just like any other education outcome. Yeah, so my second point I would like to highlight is that children with disabilities are active coping agents. The study brought this out very, very, very well. Children with disabilities are active coping agents, and that it's sent as children, not as passive victims. I think I found this very, very key. So the children in Kamuli, they told us they are seeking help, they are building friendships, they are reframing negative experiences, they are talking about these, engaging in learning, then imagining their futures even beyond their stigma, because they're able to talk about this. It aligns very strongly with what we have in Uganda under child participation approaches. And overall, children with disabilities, we know they are not empty vessels waiting to be fixed. They are already coping, adapting, resisting exclusion in their daily lives. However, I think this is what is most critical, that their resilience should never become an excuse for neglect. That, okay, you see that Dolores, she's there, she'll come to school, they'll pay the school fees anyway, but you do not know, because you've not assessed, you do not know actually what that child is going through, yeah? So we must strengthen children's coping without romanticizing their suffering. Coping strategies succeed or fail depending on the environment we create around the child. So this brings us to what they really emphasized. It was that they talked a lot about the ecosystem. But my point here is coping fails without a supportive school ecosystem. A child is trying. A child has other issues. They come, maybe they first go, I don't know, they have to fetch water and they do all these things. They have their underlying disability. So this study is very clear that child level coping strategies only work when schools provide an enabling ecosystem. Where schools were supportive, we saw that children thrived. Where schools lacked resources, trained teachers, and safeguarding systems, children appeared to withdraw. So from my experience across districts in Uganda, it reflects the reality on the ground. Key ecosystem elements that matter for us are that teachers who understand disability and emotional safeguarding, they will help them. It's a key element. Teachers understand disability and emotional safeguarding. But also that counseling and psychosocial support within schools takes place. And that there is peer sensitization and inclusive school culture. And there are simple things, it could be at a school assembly that you make it a routine that we shall talk about disability. We shall give responsibility to our one child who has a physical disability. They'll probably be the timekeepers. They can even become the head teachers. So peer sensitization and inclusive school cultures, but also simple but functional infrastructure. such that you have the ramps, you have the wider doors, you have enough lighting, and that the seating arrangements are also proper, that the children are supporting each other. And all these kind of approaches that are cropping up now, say child to child. So the danger, which this research highlights well, though, is that children end up compensating for weak systems with personal resilience. Yeah, as I said earlier. Yeah, you you have a system that is failing you, but the burden is on you. So you can imagine you keep sinking. Yeah? So it's not fair, and it's not even going to be sustainable. It's not. So I have a fourth point. The teachers are front line of children's mental health. They are the front line. So if there is one practical takeaway for government and partners, it's this one. Teachers shape children's mental well-being more than any policy document. Actually, during the study, I don't know, I stand to be corrected, but I don't think we even have a national inclusive education policy anyway, because in 2019, I'm not sure we have one. It's a draft that's still seated at cabinet. Yeah? But you see, for me, what I get from it is that there are practices out there, and people are yearning for that to be passed, and so it's as though we have a policy on inclusive education. But what I'm saying is that children in the study, they associated well-being with fair treatment, not being beaten, being listened to. That's what they associate with. Yeah, being supported instead of isolated. So we consistently see that teacher attitudes and practices can either protect children from harm, or they can even unintentionally reinforce the stigma. They can. So it calls for mandatory pre-service and in-service teacher training, inclusive pedagogy, and psychosocial support, and it's doable. Maybe parents, they talked about parents around schools, maybe parent support groups, and the entire community shifting, recognizing teachers not just as instructors, but as mental health and safeguarding actors. So without teacher investment, inclusive education policies will continue to fail at the classroom level. They will fail. I know I don't want to expand the discussion about teachers' distress and all that, and then what we are demanding from them, but it's there for us. You have to reflect. So, I think the last one, stigma. Stigma is a safeguarding issue. It's not just a cultural issue. The stigma described in this study, labeling, beliefs, curses, abandonment. Yeah, of course, women being abandoned because they have given birth to a child with disabilities. It's not simply cultural. We should change. It's not simply, we should not look at it and say it's culturally like that and what. So a man, what do you expect of that man now to do? No. It becomes harmful because systems fail to challenge it consistently. So we need to treat stigma as a child protection and safeguarding concern because it pushes children into isolation. It silences their help seeking even, yeah, and it increases risk of emotional harm, yeah. We are dealing with people who will okay, they'll qualify, they'll do whatever, and they'll one day jump off the ceiling that I don't have a job, you know. So it's all those things when we're looking at inclusive education and the quality inclusive education outcomes and mental well-being. So, and stigma work must therefore be continuous, it must be structured, it must be linked to school routines, and it should be extended into families and communities. We should not treat stigma as a one-off awareness session. It doesn't. We just pick it and just keep moving with it. So, on my closing call, I think this study gives us 3 clear messages. One, mental well-being must be recognized as a core outcome of inclusive education. And 2, Children's coping strategies must be supported by strong school ecosystems. And then 3, like teachers and school culture are central to safeguarding children's mental health. So in my organization, we see this research as evidence that should shape programming, should shape teacher training, and should also do policy implementation, especially if we are saying in Uganda we are advancing SDG 4 and SDG 3. Because true inclusion means children with physical disabilities should feel safe, should feel valued, should feel hopeful, and should feel they belong. They should feel they belong. And anything less is not inclusion. It is presence without protection. So I'll just I'll leave it here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lawrence, for those very, very insightful thoughts about inclusion and reminding us the work that we need to do to ensure that we do better for our disabled children living with disability. Some of the key highlights that Lawrence reminded us of is that inclusion should be defined, but also physical access alone is not inclusion, and that's something that the study also highlights. She also reminded us that children's emotional safety should be a quality indicator of inclusion. She also mentioned that children with disability are active coping agents. She also mentioned that coping fails without a supportive school system, that it's not enough to just say that children should cope, but there needs to be systems in schools to help the coping mechanism of our children living with disability. At this juncture, I know that there's people that have had their questions. I see some in the chat. I'm going to start with Stuart Mugabe's question. Stuart is from the Uganda Society for Disabled Children. And his question is, as an implementing partner, how can interventions be integrated in psychotherapeutic and education focusing on children with disability to address mental health related issues, especially embedded into teaching and learning processes, recognizing that education outcomes are inseparable from mental and emotional well-being, but also making classroom spaces for safety. Again, the question there is, as an implementing partner, how can interventions be integrated to psychotherapeutic and education focusing on children with disabilities to address mental health related issues? I believe this question is directed to Lawrence, so we'll kindly request that you note it down. Let me just scroll through the chat to see if we have any more questions. And if you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll be taking it shortly. Prosi is saying, hi all, Prosi. We are from Kamuli Network. The network has been a problem and we are wondering whether the presentation can be shared. Apologies about the network, Prosi. And yes, we'll make this webinar available for everyone. Thank you, Dr. Nina and Dr. Okongo for the insights. It's indeed unfortunate that we still hold such beliefs which highly affect these children. Yes, this was highlighted in the study that regardless of how far we've moved, there's still beliefs and stereotypes about children living with disability. Fiona Nachitio, Fiona says, thank you so much, the AfriChild Center and the panelists for the great deliberations. I'm a mother of a child with a disability, both physical and intellectual. It's unfortunate to mention that even here in Kampala, where we think there is a lot of sensitization, a lot still needs to be done. I had to change my son's school due to the too much stigma that he was facing. Very unfortunate that this still happens. Fiona still says that his name changed from Rafa to Kakono because his hand is handicapped. My appreciation, however, with the education system now is with introduction of scribes who are supporting children with writing and interpretation. Thank you very much, Fiona, for sharing a personal story, but also showing us that there is hope for the situation of our children living with disability. I would like to request anyone who's who has a burning question, you can raise your hand and we'll allow you to speak and ask. And please, when you get to ask the question, kindly direct it to one of our three presenters. Thank you. If you have a question, kindly unmute yourself. Dr. Nina, do you want to respond to the questions that have been raised as we wait for any question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my network went off, so I haven't heard the question. I've just joined.
Okay. The first question was directed to Dolores, so perhaps we first have Dolores respond to that. And in case you would like me to repeat the question, please feel free to let me know.
Okay, just you could repeat that question.
Okay,
To
so
me?
the question it's okay. The question is from Stuart Mugabe, is from the Uganda Society for Disabled Children, and he's asking that as an implementing partner, how can interventions be integrated in psychotherapeutic and education focusing on children with disabilities to address mental health related issues?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stuart. Okay, I think the very best response I can give to this is when partners, especially NGO sector, when you realize that you have a leeway to do a multi-sector approach. So you would work with say health sector, you will work with the education sector, maybe the community development and the production department. Once you are able to work with sectors that you know these are service providers, but you also add on layers of say the leadership, you usually can come up with a very good program. And of course, more and more, we are saying what is psychotherapy? What are the psychotherapeutic processes we are talking about? We are saying when it comes to issues of mental health, you will need the people who will diagnose. You don't get the social workers to diagnose that. You need the people from the health sector. Then you want to understand the education, say the education trajectory of a learner, whether they have a disability or not. You will need an education specialist. So, and it all starts at early identification. Yeah. So you have to identify these children well. You've got to make sure parents and even the other family members are participating in how you are actually identifying a child, such that everybody in the family knows that our brother, our sister has got this. Maybe they have some autism in them, but this is what they are able to do. So in that way, you define both their health, their health or therapeutic pathway, psychotherapeutic pathway. Wow, Stuart, they are psychotherapeutic processes. But I think what I'm picking from it is there is a mental well-being, and a child may actually be presenting with a real mental health disability or disorder. And then here also, we are saying, therefore, usually when they present with a disability or something that is not usually regular, they will be they will be isolated, they will be stigmatized. And so the entire community, that they are able to also counsel them at school and maybe at community, but that everybody's moving. I think you are in one movement towards the better inclusion of everyone. I think multi-sectoral approach is what I'm giving. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much,
answers.
Doreen. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Lawrence, for that very wonderful response. And that it's not enough for us to blame government, or it's a multi-sectoral approach, and we need to support teachers, we need to support parents, we need to support communities, and it's a joint effort. And like Lawrence mentioned, that children are compensating for weak systems with their resilience. So we need to also support our children living with disability, that let's not just let their resilience prevail. Yes, it's true to know that these children are very resilient, but we need to be able to support them and support the teachers that are taking care of these children. We have some activity in the chat. I'm going to just quickly read through it as we draw nearer to the close. Emily, a teacher and student of public health and leadership from UCU. I'm happy to be part of this webinar, and I must say that I have seen this out there of Africa, in Italy, and it's not easy to effectively implement inclusion education because it requires a lot of time, finances, and being a developing country. I'm hopeful we will get there, but it requires continuous training, especially that course should be included in the syllabus studied by teachers to be at the university. That's a very insightful thought and suggestion. Thank you very much, Emily, for those wonderful thoughts, that we need to be able to include this in the curriculum for teachers so that even at the teaching level, they know how to deal with children with disability and that they've been very well inducted to do so. Brenda Oyo says that it's troubling that exclusion in learning spaces extends even to higher education. As a graduate student in one of the universities, I see that our classroom access is still not inclusive for persons with disability, physical disability to be specific. These barriers are not only physical, but also psychological, often leading to feelings of isolation, frustration, and diminished self-worth. Over time, such experiences can negatively affect mental health, contributing to stress and discouragement. That's very insightful. Thank you very much, Brenda, for sharing those wonderful thoughts. And we hope that even the higher institutions of learning can take this on. One of the presenters mentioned that physical access is not alone, and physical access alone is not inclusion. So it's not enough that we can have ramps or access areas for persons living with disability, but it can also affect their mental health. And we need to also go beyond making physical access, but also consider their psychological well-being. Our time seems to be fast spent. Our webinar usually goes for 1 hour and 30 minutes, and as I can check, we have 3 minutes to go. And I would like to invite our presenters to just give us very brief parting shots in under 1 minute as we draw to the close. I will start with let me just check, Dr. Wilberforce. Could you just give us your parting shots based on the discussion? And then we'll go to Dr. Nina, and finally, we'll conclude with Mrs. DeLawrence. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Clinton. You discover that, for instance, from the discussion, the discussant agrees with us, and I see that even the other people from the audience, like Emily, accepts our recommendation, because Emily says we need to include it in the curriculum, and that was one of our recommendations, that there is a need for curriculum integration, where we integrate disability awareness in all educational curricula, such that we can foster an inclusive and emphatic community culture. But I want also to say that, as I mentioned earlier on, this calls for a cross-sector collaboration. Cross-sector collaboration, where we need to encourage collaboration between the government entities. We need to encourage collaboration from the NGOs. We need to develop joint initiatives, and we need to strengthen community engagement. But above all, for instance, for the school ecosystem, which we found that it is very essential for coping strategies for children with the physical disabilities. The teachers in Uganda are expected to guide the children with physical disabilities in several critical areas. For instance, on their personal and social issues, we expect them to help the children with physical disability cope with peer pressure, with bullying, with the trauma, or with even family problems. On the academic support, we expect these teachers to assist children with physical disabilities who are struggling with even study habits or even time management and any other specific academic challenges. Then on the career guidance, because we saw that they have positive reframing. So the teachers must help them understand their strength and their interests to make informed decision about even their subject choices or even future careers. I think that's what I can say at the moment. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wilberforce, for keeping it under 1 minute and for those parting shots. I also would like to invite Dr. Nina to, under 1 minute, give us her parting shots.
Thank you, Clinton.
Dr. Nina, we can't seem to hear you. As Dr. Nina checks on her microphone, could I invite Mr. Lawrence?
Communities.
Dr. Nina, we lost you there for a moment. Could you just maybe under 1 minute, just a few seconds, just give us your parting shots?
Okay, my take on this is the family. The family unit is key. Much as we are saying the government, we are saying, oh, the school, we should start because the findings show that it's not only the community that is segregating these children, but in their own homes. So if these children do not have safety in their own homes, then all these other strategies are not going to work effectively. So we need to target the homes so that they are sensitized. Then this can come to the community. Then we go to the schools and we strengthen the systems there. Just like the director said, we should routinize activities, talks on the school compound. Those talking compounds should have those protective messages. Then with time, that culture, that negative culture and the beliefs will die. Then the government can come in, the NGOs can come in and also let us lobby for more financial support in the schools and to help these children because without them, then there is little we can do about it. I submit.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nina, for once again, always those insightful thoughts. I would want to invite our discussant to also share with us her parting shots.
Yeah, thank you very much. I must say, it's a very good study, and it delved into the understanding of our cultural biases towards children with disabilities generally. The title was also appealing, and I know that they were referring to children who present with any form of disability and how they interact with their communities to access education and thrive. In education settings, mental well-being really is about feeling safe, valued, included. Of course, confidence, having that confidence, self-esteem, and motivation to learn. And we all need these. And they can be measured as education outcomes, learning outcomes, how you form friendships, how you regulate emotions, how you solve problems. So it's a good study, and I think I can just say thank you for letting us be a part, and yeah, look forward to more. Thank you very much, AfriChild and Kyambogo.
Okay, thank you very much, our very, very experienced and highly knowledgeable presenters. and discussant for this, for sparing time to share with us your wisdom and the findings from this study from Kyambogo. Once again, from the team at the AfriChild Center, we want to thank you, everyone who made time to participate in this wonderful webinar. We host these webinars every last Tuesday of the month, and they are part of the AfriChild webinar series where we disseminate findings from our work, but also work that we do in our different capacities as partners under the Inter-University Research Training and Mentorship Program, but also from our work. We also take time to invite some of the partners that we work with in the child rights space to present their findings on this webinar. Therefore, we want to invite each and every one of you that every month, take time. We always send out these communications to invite you all to be part of this webinar series. So thank you once again. And we want to wish you a wonderful morning, a wonderful afternoon, a wonderful evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Okay, good evening to you all.
Thank you. Bye.